Now that everybody's killed Skarn, we've had nerfs to him and an improvement to the trap visuals. Hey, at least they're learning.
Better late than never.
I think it's weird. Like, Skarn is the most fiddled about with boss this tier, but then Magmarax got all of his fiddling before he came out, and that's why Magmarax is like a free boss with no mechanics.
I think
Something's up there.
I haven't actually seen the recent Aberrus raid interview. We'll have bits on that in the document here where they discuss some things, including some good news for a lot of people wanting to do the Dawn of Infinite, which is also bad news for some people wanting to do it. But we'll get into that. I think ultimately there's something with Magmarax where they clearly had, you look at the platform, you look at the environment, you go, you had ideas, and then you had to scrap those ideas because there's no way a third boss from the end ships with basically no mechanics. It's like, not there are mechanics, but Magmarax is like a second boss or even a first boss in complexity compared to every other boss around there.
It's so
because
weird.
going like you could imagine how much harder this raid would be if it was Skarn, someone harder than Skarn, then Neltharion, then Sarkarath. But clearly, like, I have this idea of them doing things with all of the like lava in the platform, because the way the platform is in the lava pool, I imagine there's a lot of stuff like, what if the platform goes down, the lava comes in, and there's smaller platforms? Kind of, that would be a throwback to Neltharion as well, actually, to the, not Neltharion, Nefarian, the Blackwing Descent one, because that was the Onyxia platform with the lava come up. I imagine they want to do something like that, but the physics of, especially because the platform's on chains, so if the lava rises, the platform would rise too. So you could imagine them doing things like that, or sink it down, one half the platform goes up, etc. And I guess they just weren't able to do that, or weren't able to get it to work perfectly. Same way they had to cut the class call mechanics for Neltharion. I imagine that was a balancing issue more than anything else. But it was like, that was data mined. People were like, oh yeah, let's go, class calls, those are really, really cool. And then people looked at them and started crying because they were slightly unbalanced. Like, you're randomly shifting a druid out of form. It was like rogues like shadow stepped and hurt their allies at times. And like, that's really flavorful, but they decided not to run with it. So I'm assuming it's something similar of, raid design team couldn't quite get. And I certainly have some post-raid thoughts about Aberrus. And I'm like, it's maybe not as good as I'd initially rated it. Just after some extra thinking.
Yeah, I can see some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some of the bosses.
Yeah, indeed.
At least the Echo and Neltharion, or Echo and Sarkarath, I sort of generally enjoy.
Yeah, Sarkarath was nowhere near as good as Razageth. That's my problem.
Yeah, Razageth was excellent.
Yep.
So what's happened then? The Dragonfire traps have been nerfed quite a bit on normal and heroic. Most of the difference is on heroic though. Certainly interesting. Looking at it then. Right, so Blast Wave reduced 10% normal and heroic. Dragonfire traps are now magic dispellable in heroic difficulty. The activation time is 5 seconds instead of 3 on normal, and the activation is 4 instead of 3 on heroic, and better additional visuals. And also for Sarkarath, the Motes of Oblivion should be more visible against the ground. Are those the motes that are the things that fall to make you go into the void zone?
Yes, they are. They are now changed to being the same color as the ground instead of a different color.
What?
So they were originally like a brown purple that I thought was really like hard to see, but also it would like the ground's pretty striking blue, so like a dark brownish kind of overlay. I could see them pretty clearly, and then they've been changed to be blue, and I'm like, that's blue on blue. That's worse. That's actually like they contrast it more like with light and stuff because they're brighter, but I also think they kind of look a little bit harder to see now, and I'm like, oh no,
Whoops.
what are you doing? But yeah, they did change those because that was like in phase 1 it's all fire, like the swirlies are orange and red. You go spot on. I can see red because it's on blue. That's red versus blue. Tail is old as time. Tail is old as Halo. I go, sweet, fantastic. Now it's just, here's purple and blue on blue. Like, whoa. I get what you're going for, but really, really need something to improve overall visibility for swirlies specifically, because swirlies have a blurred gradiated outline instead of something clear, instead of a clear like line or a couple pixel stroke outline or anything like that.
Be so nice.
And you know what the thing is? Dawn of Infinite has some of the most obvious and best telegraphs I've seen in World of Warcraft. It's really cool. Like, we're talking, they look like League abilities.
What?
They look a little bit more like League of Legends and WildStar than they do World of Warcraft. And that's amazing to me.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And they're like designed so they fit the aesthetic of the raid or of the dungeon, which is really cool. But then also, well, swirlies are not that way. I have this idea of like swirlies that have like a solid outline, like a transparent center that like fill up. And then as soon as the circles fill, then it happens, as opposed to, you know, the way a swirly's there and it's like the thing landing, but you can't see the thing landing because of camera angles. I'm like, so they do seem to be improving that very nicely. I hope they'll learn in time for like implementation of the next raid to go. If they do it all like Dawn of Infinites, spot on. Beautiful work. Fantastic.
I look forward to that.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially because of new characters, which I really need to get to.